What's up, GT gang? Welcome back to the channel, and I'm excited. Today's the day where not today. Tomorrow we're building the engine, but today we're prepping the engine. So we have all the parts. We have our heads. We have the crankshaft, just a bunch of motor mounts, brackets, a bunch of bolts, and the water pump. We have stroker oil pan gasket, pistons, throttle body, head gaskets, intake, exhaust manifold gaskets, connecting rods, oil pump, Hellcat lifters, double roller timing chain, MDS plugs, valve cover gaskets, bearings, all the works. Everything's here. Oil pan, timing cover. The only thing I'm not sure if I have here is my water pump gasket. So I didn't find it at home, but that being said, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to pull the covers off the engine, the tarp, the 4 bungee cords, the tarp, and the garbage bags. We're going to clean it up with brake cleaner and get to priming and painting it Hemi orange, as well as taping up any holes. What's next? That's it. So we'll get you guys on a time lapse and let's get it. Everybody, so we have the block taped up. I did go with the route that painting the back of the block. Instead of trying to tape where the cross bolted main bolts go, I just put the old bolts in, and that should cover any area that needs a clean surface. All the plugs are in, taped over any flat surface where a motor mount will sit or some kind of bracket. Oil filter mounting location is all taped up. Front timing cover taped up. These parts right here in the front is where you're going to see the most. So you want to make sure that when you do tape this up, you make this look nice and pretty. Obviously the top is going to get painted. What I plan on doing is putting in my MDS plugs and then painting the top of the block. Don't forget that you have a sensor that goes here. That's your cam angle sensor. Yeah, we are ready to start the priming process. So I'll throw you guys on a time lapse and get her going. All right, guys, time for some Hemi orange. Let's get it. Second coat. Let's get it. All right, everybody, so let's take off the tape. What do you guys think? All right, I'm gonna take all this off and then get you guys when I'm done. So here's what it looks like. It looks damn good. 2 thick coats of clear, a bunch of Hemi orange, of course, but all the tape is off. And first thing we're going to do is wipe down all the mating surfaces with brake clean with a rag. We're not going to spray it on there, and then we'll go over with some lubricant and make sure that nothing flash rusts. And then the very first thing we're going to do, as you can see over here, we have our pistons, piston rings, etc. We're going to gap the piston rings. The most important thing to keep in mind when you're building a Hemi is the ring gap is very, very important. I do have a book that goes over exactly how to gap my rings, and I have a ring grinder set up right there. The light's very bright, so we'll go over how to do everything, guys. So this should be very beneficial to you. But that being said, let's get started, man. I'm excited. So before I actually start test fitting the pistons, make sure everything's correct, what I have here is a caliper. It's just a machinist tool, and it's It's not digital, it's analog. I think it's personally the better choice to go with. So what I'm gonna do, open this up. I'm just double checking my bore. Realistically, if I get something that's way off, it completely ends everything today. But this is more or less for double checking. This was machined at a machine shop, of course. So what I'm going through is just double checking. I'll bring these apart and just kind of wiggle back and forth, nothing too crazy. And I get 4.090, which is exactly what my bore is. So I'll write it down in my book. I have a booklet over here, and just basically keep track of everything before I take a next step. This is just as simple as that. So I'm gonna do that to every single cylinder and write it down, and then move on to the next step, which is actually test fitting pistons and then getting ready to do piston rings. Okay, so now that I double checked every cylinder, everything came back to 4090. That's supposed to be my bore. So we're good. At the cylinders, double check, came back as a pass. So now I have it laid out 1, 3, 5, 7. That would be the right bank of cylinders. 2, 4, 6, 8 on the left bank of cylinders. So if you're looking at the front of the engine, it goes 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8. So now the next step is a single piston is set to its home position, I guess. So right now, this is going to be my number 1 piston. Its home is number 1. We make number 1 cylinder fit perfect with this piston, and we do that with piston rings. So we know that the bore is correct, so we know that the piston is going to go in. I will double check it with this piston, cylinder number 1. And then we do that over and over and over and over again until we have all 8. This piston goes in number 1 cylinder. We need to make it tailor-made for number 1 cylinder. So the piston rings could vary a little bit on every single cylinder. That's why you don't test fit or file rings to fit on 1 cylinder. You have to do it per cylinder. So if that makes sense, you guys get what I'm saying. So if I'm working on number 3 cylinder, I don't file rings to fit on number 1 cylinder. It's okay, this piston goes on number 3, as well as these piston rings go on number 3. So I make them fit for that cylinder. This is going to take hours, guys. So you need to have an entire day to do this, start to finish. It's going to take a very long time. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and open up the piston rings, set them across on every single cylinder, and we'll go ahead and get on to the next step, which would be filing the piston rings, my bad. So these are actually the piston rings that I went with. This came with my stroker kit. These are a Total Seal high performance steel rings. So you open these up, they're clearly labeled top groove. So we'll go ahead and set these off to the side, free and clear of anything else. These came with my diamond pistons. These are a locking ring for the, it's basically like a locking support for the oil rings, which are at the bottom. So I'll just set those off. You guys might not even have those, so that's specific to my application. And then next we have the second groove. The top groove would be first groove, second groove, and then third groove, which is the oil rings. So set these off here. And we got cardboard. Now we have all of our oil rings. So for the oil rings, you'll have this wave groove ring with 2 of these small steel rings that go on either side of it, top and bottom. So we'll set these off as well. And you want to really make sure you guys are being careful here. We don't want to drop anything or possibly scratch something up. So next, what do we have in here? Okay, bottom groove. So these are actually supposed to go in a plastic holder as well, plastic bag. So what else do we have in here? We have installation sheet. I will refer to this just in case there's something that I need to be aware of. So definitely make sure when you get something like this, you take a quick look over it. Make sure that you're not doing something that they don't recommend. And then of course we have some stickers and gapless second or conventional ring sets. It's supposed to be gapless, but there is a little bit of proper ring filing with applications. We have street strip circle, nitrous up to 150 horse, 150, 350 horse nitrous, 350 plus nitrous, mild boost up to 15 pounds, medium boost, that's 15 to 30, high boost 30 plus, mild boost up to 15 pounds, medium boost 15 to 30, and high boost 30 plus pounds. So this all is broken down for different kinds of fuel, your top ring, second ring, and the oil rail. So we're going to go ahead and look at our how to rebuild Hemi book, because that will have the spec that I will follow for my piston rings. This is not specific to Hemi. So if you're building a Hemi, which I'm sure you are, that's why you're watching this, you definitely want to refer to this book right here, or a factory manual. This is New Hemi Engines, 2003 to present, how to rebuild. It's wrote by, the author is Larry Shepard. If you know anything about Mopar, Larry Shepard's the man. It's like Larry Shepard, Mr. Norm, those guys are like on the same level. So rest in peace, Mr. Norm, and let's go ahead and get started. I have everything broken down, and we'll start test fitting pistons into cylinders and setting them to where they will be at forever. So there's a few things that you want to take note of, okay? So for instance, you have valve reliefs. We have a small relief and a large relief. The large relief will actually be for your intake valve. Your small relief will be for your exhaust valve. And you'll actually have a dot, which is right here. I don't know if you can see that. There's a dot right here. It's a dimple. And that always points to the front of the engine. So this means, and on top of that, with my piston setup, I actually have oil piston squirter clearance notches, as you can see right here. So this puts this, if this is the front of the engine, this way. The intake side is towards the middle of the engine, okay? So that means that this piston has to go on the right bank of cylinders, which is 1, 3, 5, 7. The intake valve going to the middle of the engine, exhaust valve going to the outside of the engine, with our dimple facing the front, oil squirter facing the middle of the engine as well. So this is 1, 3, 5, 7. So everybody, I lied. That's not the book that has it. It's New Hemi Engines 2003 to present, how to build max performance. We have piston ring end gap guidelines, page 51. So we have street drag oval racing engine, nitrous street engine, nitrous drag engine, and supercharged / turbocharged engine. So I will be going with the supercharged / turbocharged engine, which is 24 to 26 thousandths of an inch. Yeah, so I'll probably end up going with 25 thousandths of an inch and run it with there. I think that's going to be the safe bet to go. That's the very top ring. So your top groove will be whatever one of these are. However application you decide to go with, or whatever application you decide to go with, grab this book. It's very, very beneficial and intuitive, and shows a lot of detail, how to do a lot of things. I've learned most of the stuff that I know about these engines from this book. So a little bit of a short start to the series, guys, but let me assure you that this series is going to be fantastic. This is what's really going to take us to the next level. We're building this 426, and at the time of this recording, we are extremely close to getting the motor in the car, and that's one step closer to being faster than a Hellcat. So stay tuned, guys. Check me out on TikTok as well as Instagram. Everything's always down below. If you have any questions, hit me up on any platform. I'd be more than happy to help. And as always, see you next time. Peace.